Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Soltari, and I am a genealogist and a passionate traveler. I've been doing these videos now since 2021, and the Ville that we're going to look at today since 2023. So we're slowly getting through each and every one of these remarkable women, truly getting to know their stories, where they came from, what they experienced when they got here, and of course, how it ended. So I am so grateful for you for coming along with the ride. Before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. Subscribe, like, and notify. All of that helps my logarithms, which helps spread the news about how routes will travel. So thank you so much. The other ways are ways that you can help the channel grow financially. We have the memberships now on YouTube that have they start at 99 cents a month all the way to $24.99, and each level gives you different perks. So check that out. I've got the link in there as well. You can donate on my website using PayPal as well. And now there's a thing called Super Thanks that they do as well for each episode, actually. So that is really kind of neat, and some people have started using that, and I get an email or an alert that somebody has done that, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So thank you so much to all of you who have done that. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Today we're going to be doing the Filles Mariées episode 116, Jeanne Merrin. She is a viewer request. I don't have her in my file, so let's get to know Jeanne a little bit better. Jeanne was born in 1636 in Poitiers, France. Her parents were Michel Merrin and Catherine Archange, or Tardif. I wasn't able to nail that down. Poitiers, which is found in the département of Vienne, inside of the region of Nouvelle-Aquitaine, has roots dating back to Roman times. Originally known as Lemanum, it at one time featured amphitheaters and baths and aqueducts, which you can still see at some points in the city. Key historical moments of Poitiers include the Battle of Tours in 732 and the Battle of Poitiers in 1356. It was also a medieval hub, home to Eleanor of Aquitaine, and notable landmarks included the Notre-Dame-la-Garde, the Poitiers Cathedral, the 4th century Baptistère Saint Jean, and many more. Poitiers blends history with modern times and truly retains that medieval charm and cultural richness. You can see it in the streets. I mean, it's just rich with it. The church where she would have been baptized, Église Saint-Michel, had at one time the largest congregation of any parish in the city before it was destroyed in the 1740s, so actually before the Revolution. And would arrive aboard the Grand Recrue of 1653. She is noted on the monument to these brave men and women who came from France to save Montreal, essentially. Chamonix de Maisonneuve, the governor, went to France and recruited 100 settlers. She was one of them. And those 100 settlers began to really, truly create a colony of Montreal. And so she truly is one of those founders. The husband that she would choose, and who chose her, Éloi Jarry de la Haye. And he was born in 1616 in Ige, France. He was born to parents named Éloi Jarry and Françoise Chevalier. He's from the Normandy region, and inside of that, he is from the Orne département. And this part of that notable commune that is rich in history, particularly as a significant source of emigration to Quebec in the 17th century. Many residents from Ige and its neighboring areas embarked on journeys to New France, Quebec, contributing to the early colonial population. Éloi was baptized in the Church of Saint Martin, which dates back to at least the 12th century. And when I saw this aerial shot, it just was just so magnificent and so beautiful. Truly exquisite farmland. Valois would sign a contract in 1646 to come to New France for a period of 3 years. He was paid a little under £80 a year, and he was hired to be a wheelwright, presumably in Montreal. He performed his task and continued to work, and by 1654, Governor Champagny de Maisonneuve actually gave him 30 arpents as kind of an incentive, if you will, for him to stay in the colony. He was important, his work was important, and Champagny knew that he would need to have land in order to build any kind of a family. Now all he needed was a wife. Now remember, Jeanne had arrived in the colony in 1653. It is very possible that Maisonneuve knew that, oh, this could be a happening thing, so it was all part of the big plan, if you will. And so by November of 1654, Jeanne and Valois were married at Montreal. And of course, they would settle here. The wonderful city that would become Montreal started off as Ville by the founder, Paul de Chaumédy, Sœur de Maisonneuve, and was essentially a missionary center, founded in May of 1642. The colony would not thrive at all in that decade, and it was on the verge of extinction when Champagny decided to return to France to recruit 100 settlers, which would be known as Le Grand Recruit, which we know that Jeanne is a part of. From this small group would evolve the Notre Dame Congregation from Sister Marguerite Bourgeois. When Montreal was founded, the new colonists were rapidly confronted by a fearsome enemy, the Iroquois. Unfortunately, there was no regular army on Montreal soil until 1665, when the Carignan-Salière regiments landed here. In the meantime, militias capable of resisting Iroquois attacks were set up. In early January of 1663, Champagny de Maisonneuve created the Sainte Famille militia, kind of a rough and tumble, we're going to protect our land, and absolutely helped to save Montreal until they could get reinforcements. And you can see on the map, Montreal was so easily accessed. You know, you could come at it from any angle, and that was its downfall, but ultimately it became its greatest strength. As you can tell, another island city called New York City also had the same problem, but ultimately that led to its greatness as well. You can see in the upper left, this is a picture of old Montreal as it looks today. It is a wonderful, wonderful place to visit and to explore. We have the Basilica of Montreal is here. And then we have also a depiction of it in the 17th or 18th century, actually. And then here is from one of the museums has created sort of a prototype, and I've created a link for you in the descriptions, in the notes, so that if you wanted to explore that, that would be great. And of course, this is the wonderful skyline and nightline of Montreal, my favorite city truly in the world. They would go on to have 3 children. Jean-Baptiste would marry late in life to a widow named Louise Paradis and would not leave any descendants. Clémence married André Rapin and would have 11 children, 7 of whom made it to adulthood. She would then marry Joseph Gauthier and have 1 child who also made it to adulthood. And then Henri would marry Agathe Lecueilly and have 8 children, all of whom would make it to adulthood. Unfortunately, Valois' life would come to an end when he was captured by the Iroquois and killed in captivity sometime in 1659. Now, Jeanne would carry on. Let's see what happened next. But before we leave Valois, I wanted to show you that in that church where he was baptized, his name is there, along with several other people that would be very important to New France. And we have Valois Géry right there circled, and it really kind of is a wonderful tribute to him. The next man who would come into her life and become her second husband, his name was Henri Perrin, and he was born in 1624 in Nouraga, France. His parents were François Perrin and Marguerite Chaboyer. Nouraga is a small but historically rich commune in Brittany, the region, located in the Côte d'Armor region of northwestern France. It has deep Breton roots, with its name likely linked to an early saint or sacred place. Historically, this commune was a rural community focused on agriculture and small-scale craftsmanship. The town is known for its traditional stone-built houses and medieval churches like l'Église Saint-Briac, and its connection to Catholic, including Breton pardons or processions. Though small, Nouraga remains an important part of Brittany's cultural and historical landscape, preserving the unique heritage of this region. And this is where Henri comes from. Let's see how his life intersects with Jeanne's. Henri would arrive in 1650 and would also receive a land grant from Governor Maisonneuve, the same as Inwa, and so they both received at the same time, so it is extremely likely that they knew each other. He would become a farmer, just as Inwa had, and he would eventually join the militia that was formed in Montreal in 1663. Now remember that Inwa died in 1659. By 1661, she would be marrying Henri, but she was also 8 months pregnant, presumably with his child. And they were married on 18th of July, 1661, and their first child was born a month later. They would go on to have 5 children. Michel would marry Jean-Baptiste Gourdon and have 4 children, all of whom made it to adulthood. She then married Louis-Jean and would have 1 child, who also made it to adulthood. Marie-Delphine married Vincent Ali and would have 6 children. 2 of her children survived. She, her husband, and 4 children died in the infamous Lachine massacre of August of 1689. Mathieu would marry Jeanne Pinet and have 8 children, 6 of whom would make it to adulthood. Barbe married René Huguet, and they would have 2 children, both of whom perished. They were also part of that Lachine massacre. Both Barbe and her husband René managed to escape and return to the colony 5 years later. Their 2 children were also captured. Their son was killed, but it is believed that her daughter Françoise was raised by the Indians. Barbe, in captivity, became pregnant with the child of a man named Pierre Lorrain, and their child, Anne, was born in 1692 in captivity, but also escaped and would leave descendants. She would marry Nicolas Morin, and she would leave 1 child who would carry this line forward. As for Jeanne's last child, Gabriel, he married Marie-Jeanne Vaudry, but would have no descendants. In the 1666 census, we have Henri Perrin, Henri, habitant. We have Jeanne, and you can see that sa femme, Vie, meaning veuf or widow, of Jean Géry. Jean is her child from their first marriage. We have Henri, and then we come to Michel Géry and Marie Géry. We can figure out that these are actually Perrin. And then we have Mathieu Perrin, who was 18 months at this time. In the next year's census, we have Henri Perrin with Jeanne. We have Jean-Baptiste, who's 12, Clémence, who is 10, Henry, who is 8, Michel, now we start with the new family, Marie, Mathieu, and Barbe. Now, Gabriel, we do not see because obviously he was born in 1669. Now we have 5 beasts, which are 5 probably heads of cattle, and that 30 arpents valants that he received from Governor Maisonneuve, which is about 26, 27 acres of land. He would leave again too soon. He would die before the 24th of February, 1670. We do not have a death record for him, and he was about 46 years old. And he and Jeanne would have been married approximately 8 years at that time. And now we come to the third husband, René Moreau, Sœur du Porteil et Dubreuil. What a fancy name. He was born in 1650. Guess where? In Poitiers, the same place as she was. His parents were René Moreau, Sœur Portal, and Barbe Villard. So she would embark on her third marriage on June 20th, 1672. Jeanne married René. She was by then 36 years of age, he 22, a fairly significant age gap for the period and even in our day. Now we know that she gave birth to two girls, Renée and Jeanne. We do not have any death records. We don't have any information about them. But we know that by the 1681 census, let's have a look. We have Jeanne and her four boys, Jean, Henry, Mathieu, and Gabriel. 2 guns, 2 bêtes à cornes, which are 2 goats, and by then she's got 5 arpents valeur. So she's been reduced from 30 arpents in the last census, so now she's got 5. Now the girls disappear, and the man is nowhere to be found. What does that could have happened? Well, he may have decided that he didn't want to. He may have taken off with her money. He may have done all kinds of things. He may have disappeared, but there's nothing. They disappear. And I find that fascinating. When I studied this, I was like, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. You know, one of those where I just sort of said, this would be interesting research for someone, because I really do believe that something happened. And but there's no other evidence but the 1681 census, where her 2 daughters and her husband, her new husband, they had just been married, 7, 8 years before? So where is he? That's the question. So we do know that Jeanne would pass away at the age of 75, remarkable, in 1711, and she would leave us with an astonishing amount of descendants, 184. Truly remarkable. Information about the true colonist. Wow, what a story that Jeanne gave us. To have experienced everything she experienced, to first come from Le Grand Recru and to really marry 3 separate men, lose each one of them, and still carry on. My mind boggles. And also, don't forget that mystery at the very end. I really want to explore that at some point, because I really am fascinated by what might have happened to her third husband. So with that being said, we just are incredulous about Jeanne and her commitment to establishing a new life in Montreal, and the fact that she raised those boys and was able to carry on no matter what happened to her. She truly was a woman of substance. So I am so grateful, Jeanne, that you came to our shores and gave of yourself and carried on and kept on carrying on no matter what happened to you. You are truly an inspiration. And I'll tell you something else that's an inspiration. My patrons and supporters and subscribers, you inspire me each and every time. You write me and you tell me, oh, you reached into some part of history I hadn't seen, or you really touched my heart. All of that really helps me, and it's why I do what I do. So thank you so much to all of you. So with that being said, I will say goodbye until the next episode of Les Filles à Marier. Until then, au revoir.